First, we built a fully functional starship, landing it on the moon. Then, we colonized the moon by building a megabase capable of supporting life. And now, welcome to Mars, the first planet we'll attempt to colonize in this series. From the outside, the planet looks desolate, empty, but below, there's life. And the underground is their domain. I landed here in the last episode with the starship. The locals quickly made themselves known, with the worst being the echo worms. Fast, strong, accustomed to the gravity of this planet, fighting even one of them nearly cost me my life. Seeking asylum on the surface, I was met with a sandstorm, as if the planet itself wanted to trap me. Then came the abandoned labs, just like the ones we saw on the moon. Only this time something stood out. Mysterious dormant seeds and saplings, shattered experimentation chambers, and standing there I started to think. Something took out a civilization advanced enough to colonize other planets, and these scraps are all we have to piece together their tragic story. Colonizing Mars requires 3 steps. The first is exploring, learning, and raiding the foreign lands. The second is building a sustainable base. And finally, figuring out what possibly could have caused an interplanetary civilization to fall. Because I am walking in their steps. Because this is the story of Before I put a roof over my head, I need to know what I'm standing on, learn everything there is to know about Mars. The abandoned labs are of special interest given the loot inside, from crucial rocket components to temperature regulators which I need to generate heat, and the mysterious dormant plants with no explanation behind their existence. I wanted to search for more labs, meaning I needed a way to traverse the rough terrain quickly, and perhaps some protection from the sandstorms to go along with it. I needed a ship. No, not the vertical kind, the horizontal kind. Basically, a mod called Eureka Valkyrian Skies lets you make a moving base if you have enough balloons to lift the blocks up. You can even make it faster with ship engines. Anyways, I put together something inspired by Star Wars and the boomerang fish from Subnautica. What was I smoking when I thought this, bro? Oh, whoa. Who let me cook, bro? Damn. Check out the crib. 8 superpowered engines, storage for days, ginormous cockpit, and plushies for comfort. Looking at the list of items I'd need, I decided to collect them on a live stream. It was my first time going live in over 4 years, so I'll skip over the yapping. From last month to December 24th to be precise. And so we are basically where you guys left off at the last episode. It's good for you, for sure. It is most definitely good for you guys because you don't lose any progress and I don't have to give any additional context. But man, losing that week of food. We got the wool by making a sheep farm, mined for the deep slate, and went to the nether to get the glowstone for the lights before going back to the moon. Right? Wait, Skelly, where are you going, bro? No way, you forgot that. Anyway, somebody in chat suggested mining for glowstone ore, a material uniquely available on the moon, which was massive. In under 13 minutes of mining and crushing, we had the glowstone needed for the lights. As for fuel, I smelted the thousands of cherry logs our tree farm produces. Now all I need to do is not forget about the 1 stack of glass that we need, which I have thousands of thanks to our automatic glass farm. Skelly, no, not again, bro, what the f- I prepared the schematic cannon for building the ship, which, as inspired by the boomerang fish, I wanted to name the Rang, but was overshadowed by you guys spamming croissant in the chat. After returning to the moon base for glass and coming back, the croissant was ready to go. I put in the fuel, and not soon after we were off. Oh, wait, we are picking up some pretty good speed. Yo, I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty good. Alright, let's go. I'm putting the combo on these guys. Oh, y'all are multiplying though, hold up. Yo. That was one hit.
Need you to take a
That was
picture with
one
your
hit.
ass out.
For the first time since the last expedition, I felt fear. One echo worm had previously almost killed me. In front was a room with 3. The echo worms didn't pose much of a threat because they were stuck inside a box, but the time will come when I have to fight them in their own domain, and there, we're gonna have some issues. The adjacent room had those dormant Martian saplings and seeds, which turns out can be cured using a special procedure of applying healing, strength, and regeneration potions of 3rd degree. You heard me right, strength 3, something that doesn't exist in vanilla Minecraft. On top of that, I had other questions. Why did the scientists living in these labs die? How did they get here since there aren't any rockets lying around? I had no leads, but my gut told me that these plants were the key. For the next few hours on stream, we flew from lab to lab collecting everything inside, shooting primarily for temperature regulators. We'll need a bunch of these to heat our future Mars base, but the rooms they spawn in are quite rare. Thankfully though, we were getting pretty lucky with the loot. I continued raiding after the stream, but before that I want to honor everybody who joined my first ever proper live stream. Here is how the blitz raids take place. I say blitz because the maximum speed of this aircraft is around 30 blocks per second, so I basically waste no time between labs. I lower the croissant, dive out like a hell diver only without a hell pod, slaughter mobs, subscribe to Scaly Viper, empty chests, simple. I can use my deductive skills to deduce that people died here, and we'll be adding to that. Throughout this process, experiencing a purple sunset, seeing the snow-capped mountains, exploring man-made structures now taken over by the planet, Mars has its own culture, ecosystem, and I felt unwelcome. But hey, the best way to feel welcome is to build a home. Now, building a base on Mars means multiple trips back and forth, not only to Earth but also to the Moon, which requires a lot of fuel. Worse yet, we're currently using liquid coal as fuel. Yes, I literally mine coal, compress and put it into the Starship. It's pound for pound the worst fuel source in the entire game. Meet liquid hydrogen, the best fuel source in the game, because as we all know, hydrogen is very flammable. But how do we make liquid hydrogen? Well, water, H2O. It's in the name. First, we split H2O into H and O using an electrolysis machine, and out comes hydrogen and oxygen gas. As for the setup itself, we already have temperature regulators and iceboxes from raiding the labs, so all I had to do was craft the electrolysis machine. Second step is to cool the gas into liquid form by using an icebox enabled by a temperature regulator set to negative 273 degrees Celsius. The hydrogen gas gets condensed into liquid hydrogen, and we can either bucket it or store it in a tank. We don't care about oxygen though, so we kind of just throw that out. Yes, I know it looks like Since Minecraft conveniently has infinite water, this technically means we'll have infinite fuel. While waiting on the hydrogen maker, seeing as though my physical safety is an open question on Mars, I decided to equip myself with stronger gear. After collecting 5 shulker boxes of liquid hydrogen, I decided to link the electrolysis setup to a big ass tank to avoid wasting new produce. And with that done, it's time to collect the materials for the Mars base. Here is what we need: concrete, glass, glowstone, iron plates, and cyan terracotta. Luckily, the terracotta we have left over from the moon base build is more than enough, but we're missing cyan dye. I also used the glowstone left over from the croissant to make the lights, and our current iron supply was enough for the plates, meaning all I had to do was break concrete and wait for cacti to grow. While Past Me watches Invincible Season 3 and mines concrete, I'll tell you guys about the Mars base we're building. Our latest project, the moon base, is one large piece. The One Piece! So this time I wanted to have multiple smaller compartments connected with tunnels. This would make it easier to oxygenate and heat the base, and also just make it easier to get around. As for the design itself, once again, I turned to Subnautica. I love the base building system in Subnautica, with the game essentially offering the player separate schematics for each essential part of a base, but giving full freedom as to how the player decides to combine them. So I did something similar, designing each building individually, saving their schematics in a test world, only to combine them on the spot later on. Holy crap. While the schematic cannon builds each part automatically, I was basically free to do whatever I wanted. Since I'd used up my entire iron supply for the base materials, I yearned for the mines. Each margin iron ore can be crushed into 2 or 3 regular iron ingots, and with fortune that's 6 to 7 ingots per block. Better yet, they always spawn in huge veins, like 30 or 40 blocks per vein. It's nuts. So yeah, I mean, long story short, we're going mining. With the upgraded spacesuit giving me newfound confidence, I went underground. I certainly wasn't expecting the planet to fight back. The mining started out great. We filled up nearly 2 shulkers with margin iron, and I was able to keep any echo worms that spawned at bay using my Power 5 bow. The thing is, the worms are fast, and when multiple of them go after you, it's tough to come out unharmed. Bro, look at this! I nearly shat my pants when I saw 5 of them spawn at once. With the large building done, I started working on the smaller rooms. I use different colored concrete to signal each building's purpose. Orange is cafeteria/lounge, green is greenhouse, blue is fuel generation using the electrolysis machine, and finally yellow means experimentation. This large room is where we'll crack the unsolved mystery of the dormant plants and hopefully understand what wiped out our ancestors. There's also red, which might be the color of the sub button if you haven't pressed it already.
Shut the f.
For all of this to function, we need energy, but honestly, after the grind to build that self-sustaining steam engine in the last episode, I definitely wanted something easier to produce energy with. And hey, what's the first thing that comes to mind when somebody says sustainable energy? Solar panels. Now that we have a proper base, it's time to fill it up. We obviously need to go back to Earth to collect some plants and animals and a bunch of amethysts for the solar panels. We'll be shooting for 120 of these bad boys, so we'll need to collect thousands of shards. Before heading out though, I took a look at the curing process for the dormant plants. All in all, we do need to go into this glowstone business. I did my best to collect different saplings and other renewable plants like vines, glowberries, and kelp, but what I really wanted were portable mobs. Minecraft only has a select number of mobs that you can carry around in your inventory: fish, frog spawns, axolotls, chickens, sniffers, and bees. The goal is simple: get at least 2 of each of these mobs. Unfortunately, this was my first time searching for sniffer eggs, and I fucked up pretty badly, dude. Just watch.
In the mirror, hate yourself, love yourself. Yes, you should love
That doesn't
yourself
seem like
now.
cold to me.
Yeah.
Oh. I decided to go mining for amethysts while waiting for the sniffers to grow. And quick tip, if you're gonna mine amethyst clusters, have Fortune 3, cause oh my god, the drop rates are insane. Oh wait, we have 3. With the materials from Earth collected, it was time to stop by the moon base. I had 2 tasks: crafting solar panels and crushing and smelting the Martian iron we collected into regular iron ingots. Unbeknownst to me, this also yielded something even better than iron. Nuggets of experience in like a separate shulker box. Yeah, that should be good. Now then, let's get this base alive and kicking. Remember the electrolysis machine? I just made 3 more. We'll be using them to set up a dual hydrogen producer and fill up these gigantic tanks with them, all powered by solar panels. So this machine functions in basically the same way that the old machine does. The main difference is that there's 2 temperature regulators, one cold, one hot. The hot one keeps perpetually the water from freezing into ice, while the cold one continually powers and enables the ice boxes. With the machine producing and storing thousands of liters of liquid hydrogen every day, we're good on fuel for the rest of the series. That's not even a joke. Well, time to move on to the greenhouse. Unlike the electrolysis machine, the greenhouse needs power 24/7, otherwise the animals inside would die and the water would freeze. Solar panels just won't work. Many of you guys suggested stacking multiple lava wheels as an alternative, which are just water wheels that run on lava indefinitely. And honestly, they worked out pretty good. I tried a couple of designs for the remaining area and decided to go for a river/lake. Before we put the mobs in there though, we need oxygen. Basically, to generate oxygen, you need an oxygenated atmosphere, something Mars obviously doesn't have. The Starship does, since we launched it from Earth, which is why we can generate oxygen inside. So all we need to do is repeat that with a new rocket, picking up some of Earth's atmosphere and cargoing it back to Mars. I needed a bunch of lava for more lava wheels anyways, so this worked out great. Being able to freely take off my armor was a massive relief, but the convenience of not having to go back to the Starship every hour to refuel my spacesuits felt even better. Now we link the oxygen up to the greenhouse so that the animals can breathe. At some point, the temperature regulator malfunctioned for a split second, causing the water to freeze, forcing me to redo the entire underwater section. Yeah, but hey, it works. Okay, time to tackle what we've built this entire compound to do: cure the dormant plants and try to find some answers. To quote Mark Watney, here's what we know. The curing process requires us to enrich glowstone ore by passing it through a circuit engraver. Then, presumably, mixing any second degree potion with enriched glowstone ore yields a potion of third degree. We'll repeat that logic for regeneration, healing, and strength potions, store them in tanks, and use sprouts to apply them to the dormant plants. Sounds pretty straightforward, right? Turns out that there are some things the game doesn't tell you. I took another look at the recipe and thought maybe brewing the potions manually and then inputting them into the mixer yielded a different potion ID compared to the mixer brewed ones. So I tried again. But then I had a thought. Since the recipe only showed one glowstone ore being required for enhancing a potion, I assumed that's all I needed to throw in there. Apparently, you need a lot more, and I mean a lot more, for the mixture to actually mix. With the recipe finally figured out, I repeated it for the two other potion effects as well. I checked with other people and yeah, even though the wood sets are added into the game, the trees themselves aren't actually in the mod yet. Don't fret though, there are other plant species we can also revive. This felt like a bigger achievement than building the base itself. It took me many hours to figure out the process by trial and error, but more importantly, seeing the glow coming off of this plant, which I essentially willed back into existence, it felt like I actually contributed to the planet's ecosystem rather than exploited for once. And if my hunch is correct, righted the wrong of our ancestors. But we'll get to that soon. After finally completing the curing process, I went back to check on the animals and I noticed that some things were missing. The room had oxygen and heat, but the animals are still dying? I needed to know what happened, so I booted up the replay mod recording and soon after found the culprits. the mod doesn't heat or oxygenate blocks that have varying heat boxes, resulting in that. Unfortunately, I ran out of chicken and turtle eggs, so I made a quick trip back to Earth before going back for round 2. This time though, the greenhouse is actually gonna be safe. Now for the finishing touches, polishing the base, making a proper landing pad for the croissant, cause it just sitting on top of that experimentation room looks hella weird. And I also completed the interior decorations, adding the carpet and missing plushie, which we initially didn't have the materials for, and finally linking the fuel tanks to the starship for easy use. All that's left is this room, the lounge. I decided to make it simple, put some railings to avoid getting stuck in the oxygen maker, made a lunar/amethyst carpet design, which I actually think it turned out better than I thought, and added some much needed storage. The base is done and dusted. The plants are cured. It's time to sit down and have a chat about where we really come from. Dormant. Throughout my experience on Mars, the adjective given to these mysterious plants constantly berated my mind. The conventional definition of the word means temporarily inactive. We can infer that these plants were once living and thriving on Mars, but now have deactivated. Why? Well, let's look at how we, quote, reactivate the plants. It entirely revolves around applying glowstone ore. That's interesting because out of every celestial body in this mod, only one does not have glowstone ore native to it. Mars. So my question is simple. How and why can plants native to Mars interact with a material that's not even from their planet? Evolutionarily, it's impossible. These plants would have never adapted to feed or depend on this mineral to survive because to them, it doesn't exist unless it once did, and something eradicated all of it. But if that's the case, what took out an entire planet's worth of glowstone ore? If it was an animal like the ecoworms, they would have also gone dormant. Ecosystems tend to work symbiotically, they don't just kill themselves. It had to be a foreigner. The only possible perpetrator is us. But why would we want glowstone ore that badly? Its only purpose seems to be curing dead or quote-unquote dormant plants. Wait a minute. Curing the dead, or almost dead, rotting away yet not fully deceased, almost like a husk of their former selves. While exploring the labs, I tried to look for clues. I ruled out the possibility of another species attacking and wiping out humans because the secure gates above are completely unharmed. So if nothing tried to get in, what could have happened? Well, what if the danger was already inside? Not inside the lab, inside the people. You might have heard of the undead virus theory. Retro Gaming Now and MatPat have both made videos on it. But essentially, the zombies and skeletons and their different variants that roam the overworld at night are theorized to be the player's ancestors that were infected with an undead virus. Earth seems to be the primary host, as evidenced by piglins and hoglins immediately transforming into their undead counterparts when coming into the dimension. When the plague hit, humans attempted to form cures. They went to other dimensions, settling and exploiting the foreign lands, making potions that heal wounds but not the virus. Their tests on villagers worked but not on humans. Their world had failed them. But what if they could travel to other worlds? What if their answer was among the stars? They began researching rocket technology, created a coordinate system for navigation, and used coal as fuel. They landed on the moon, discovered the alien glowstone ore, but used it merely as a light source, unaware of its hidden capabilities. However, one thing seemed notable. The undead virus wasn't transforming any of the local animals. The next stop was Mars, a much harsher planet that hindered their ability to advance their technology safely. Being forced indoors gave them plenty of time to experiment though. They slowly noticed that Martian plants, when isolated from glowstone for long periods of time, became dormant, not fully dead, but not fully alive either, and reintroducing them to glowstone magically rejuvenated the rotten plants. They couldn't help but compare the plants to their loved ones lost to the virus, now a husk of their former selves, not fully dead, but definitely not alive. Was this the cure they were looking for? They began experimenting. They collected every piece of glowstone ore they could find to try one more time, one last time, until they inevitably ran out. Before the virus took over, some got on the remaining rockets and left, holding out hope that they might still find a cure somewhere, while others came to terms with their fate and stayed. The virus, combined with the cold, dry nature of space, stripped their moisture and froze their bodies, turning them into husks and strays, the only undead variants visible in the labs. Infrastructure failed after nobody was left to take care of it, and the planet, not skipping a single beat, began reclaiming its lost land. That is my interpretation. A sick man trampling on foreign lands to find a cure, looking at the stars for an answer. The stars had answers, but not the answer man was looking for. Why would a distant planet with its own history, culture, ecosystem have the cure for a sickness native to Earth? The man's mistake was thinking his problem was universal, thinking he was at the center of it. That hubris was costly. One wonders if mankind had stayed on Earth and continued researching, could they have found an actual cure? Throughout these episodes, every time I came back to Earth from the Moon or Mars, I felt chagrined, as no other planet has the liveliness, comfort, or color as our home. Yes, launching the starship into space feels insanely cool, and each planet I explore itches that real-life dream of traveling interstellar, but after getting to know the planets, understanding that I'm a piece of the puzzle that simply doesn't fit, all I feel like is a trespasser. I ask you this: what good is looking up at the stars if it means missing the unmatched beauty right underneath our feet? And what good will sending humans to Mars do if, looking back, all they see is a planet on fire? The future of humanity is among the stars. Let's make sure that by then, we still have a place to call home. So, instead of looking up, look below and hit that sub button. I'm trying to get to 100K before graduation. Take care.